Welcome back to the Simulator series. In today's episode, we are going to be scripting out the system to make pets golden and shiny. As always, if you guys do enjoy the video or it does help you out, make sure you smash the like button, also to subscribe button, and turn post notifications on so you get notified every time I upload a brand new episode. Additionally, I have a Patreon if you guys like to support me and gain access to all the scripts and the game file that I make during this episode. There's a link down below in the description, and you guys go and check that out. With that being said, let's hop right into it. So, hopping directly in the studio, the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually update the pets config. So, we're going to hop inside of the replicated storage, inside of the configs folder, and open up the pets module script right here. Now in our module script, we're going to go to where we have our constant variable set up inside of here, and we're going to create two brand new ones. The first variable that we're going to create is going to be called amount to shiny, and we're going to set that equal to 4. We're then going to create a variable under this called amount to golden, and that's going to be equal to 3. Now, what we're going to be using these values for is how many duplicates of a specific pet the player needs to convert them into either a shiny or a golden pet. So, for example, a player needs to have 3 duplicate pets to be able to convert that to a golden, while to make the pet shiny, the player would need 4 duplicate pets. Additionally, to give you a little bit more context into how this specific system is going to work, in our game, the players can upgrade any of their pets to shiny and then to golden. To convert the pet to shiny, the player needs to get 4 duplicates of a single pet. So, for example, they would need to have 4 dog pets. Then they could turn that into a shiny pet. After they create their first shiny pet, they're going to need to have 2 more shiny pets of that same exact pet for them to be able to convert those 3 shiny pets into a golden one. So those are the specifics about how our system's actually going to work. Now that we've created those constant variables, let's actually go up to our pet instance type that we create right here, because we actually want to add 2 more properties to this. The first property that we're going to add is called shiny, and that's going to be a boolean. And we're going to add another one called golden, which is also a boolean as well. So whenever a player upgrades their pet to shiny or golden, we're going to set these properties to true, and then in our other functions, we're going to be able to use that data to tell if the pet is shiny or golden. In addition to that, above where we create the pet instance type, we're going to create another type, so export type, and this type is going to be called pet upgrade. And that's going to be equal to 2 strings. The first string is going to be shiny, while the second string is, of course, going to be golden. Now that we've created that type, we can go down towards the bottom of our script, and we're going to start creating a couple of functions. So we're going to create our first function. This function is going to be called get duplicate pets, and that's going to accept a pet, which is a pet instance, as well as data, which of course is going to be the player's data. Now with this function, we actually want to go through the player's pet inventory data, and we want to find all of the duplicate pets of the specific pet that they told us to look for. So we're going to create a table called duplicate pets, and that's just going to be equal to a blank table. Then we're going to start looping through the player's pet inventory data. So for UUID, comma pet instance in data.pets do. And additionally, we can cast this pet instance to the pet instance type. Now the first thing that we're going to check is if the pet instance is locked. Now, if the pet instance is locked, then we just want the for loop to continue through and go on to check the next pet. The reason for this is because any pet that is locked, we do not want them to be included when we merge a couple of different pets to upgrade to shiny or golden. We only want to look for unlocked pets. Now, after we do that, we also have to check if the pet that we're looking for right now is golden or shiny, and then we have to use that to compare that to the other pets that we're looking through to look for shiny or golden pets as well. So we're going to say if pet instance dot shiny does not equal pet dot shiny or pet instance dot golden does not equal pet.golden, then we're going to continue through the loop. Now we're going to make another if statement, and I'm actually going to put this one first. It doesn't really matter, but this is kind of the most important if statement. What we want to check is if both the pet models actually match. So we're going to say if pet instance dot model does not equal pet.model, then continue through the loop, just like we do for all these other checks. In addition to checking the model, we also want to compare the pet's rarities. So we're going to say or pet instance dot rarity does not equal pet.rarity. So if the model isn't the same or the rarity isn't the same, then we're going to continue through. If the pet's locked, then we're going to continue through, and if one of the pets are shiny but the other isn't, or if one of them is golden and the other isn't, then we're going to continue through as well. Now after we go through all those checks, we finally realize that we actually have a duplicate pet that we're looking for, and then we want to put that pet inside of our duplicate pets table. So we're going to say table insert, we're going to pass through the duplicate pets table, and then we're going to add in that pet instance directly to that table. And then finally, the last thing in this function, we are going to return that duplicate pets table. Now after that, we're going to create another function. This one is going to be called get current upgrade, and that's going to accept a pet instance, and we're going to return the pet upgrade, but we might return nil sometimes, so that's why we're going to put a question mark right here. And now this function is going to be really simple, but it's also super important. So in this function, the first thing that we want to do is check if the pet is golden. And if the pet is golden, then we're going to return the golden string. Now after that, we then want to check if the pet is shiny. And if the pet is shiny, then we're going to return the shiny string. And then finally, after that if statement, we're going to return nil, because that means that the pet has not been upgraded. Now why is this function so important? Well, it's really simple and easy to actually get confused when scripting this whole thing out. In our game, like I said, how the upgrade system is going to work is the player is going to need to first collect a couple of pets to upgrade their pet to shiny. And then after they upgrade that pet to shiny, it can then be upgraded to golden. So whenever whenever we use this function, alternatively, what you would be doing yourself is checking golden or shiny. And like I said, you can easily mix these two up. So for example, if we were to first check shiny and then we were to check golden, if a pet is golden, then they are also shiny. So when we use this function, it's going to see that the pet is already shiny and it's going to return shiny. But we would actually want golden to be returned to us because that's the highest upgrade of the actual pet. But since we mix these two up in this if statement right here, that's why we would be getting shiny first instead of golden, even though golden is better than shiny. So now if I confuse you at all, this is how the function should actually look. And like I said, we're creating this function because it's super important to have this if statement set up in this order. Otherwise, you might run into inconsistencies and bugs in your code. Now, after that, we're going to create a brand new function, which is going to be called getNextUpgrade. And that's going to accept a pet instance. And this is actually going to return three things. The first thing we're going to return is max upgraded. The second is shiny. And the third is golden. Now, this function is rather simple. We're going to create a variable called current upgrade. And of course, we're going to use the get current upgrade function to do that. So get current upgrade, and we're going to pass through the pet. Now, if the pet is golden, then we're going to return max upgraded. Otherwise, if the pet is shiny, then we're going to return golden. And then finally, we're going to return shiny. So although once again, this function is rather simple, what we're doing in here is the actual work that needs to be done to figure out what the pet's next upgrade actually is. Once again, the order plays a big part here because if we mixed up golden and shiny, then the outcome would be entirely different. Now onto the next function, we're going to create another one called getNextUpgradeCost, and that's going to accept a pet instance, and that's going to return a number. Inside of here, we're going to create a variable called nextUpgrade, which of course is going to be equal to pets.getNextUpgrade, and we're going to pass through the pet. Then if the next upgrade is golden, then we're going to return amount to golden. But if the next upgrade is shiny, then we're going to return amount to shiny. And then finally, if it's neither of those, we are going to return 0. Now we're going to create one more function in here for right now. This one is going to be called canUpgradePet, and we're going to accept a pet instance as well as the player's data. Now inside of here, we're going to create a variable called nextUpgrade, and of course, we're going to use that function that we created earlier. So get nextUpgrade, pass through the pet. Now if nextUpgrade actually equals max upgraded, then we want to return false and stop the function right there. After we make sure that the pet is not max upgraded, we then want to make sure that the player has enough duplicate pets. So we're going to create a variable called duplicate pets, and that's of course going to be using that function that we created earlier called get duplicated pets, pass through the pet, and pass through the player's data. And now we're going to determine if the player actually has enough pets to do the upgrade. So we're going to say if next upgrade equals shiny and the amount of duplicate pets is greater than or equal to amount to shiny pet, then we're going to return true. But then we also want to check for golden as well. So if next upgrade equals golden and the amount of duplicate pets is greater than or equal to the amount to golden, then we're also going to return true as well. And then finally, after we check both of those, if neither of those return true, then we're just going to return false. So we're first going to check if the pet is maxed out. Then we're going to get the duplicate pets that the player actually has of it. And if the player has enough duplicate pets for the actual upgrade requirement, then we're going to return true. Otherwise, we're going to return false because the player most likely doesn't have enough duplicate pets. Now that we've created all those functions and added everything else to the pets config script, we're pretty much done with this, so we can close out of that. And the next thing that we want to do is add a couple of functions to the pet utils module script that we created in the last episode. So inside of replicate storage, we have the client folder, and inside of here, we have the pet utils module script. Now inside of here, we want to add a brand new function, which is going to be called getUpgradeColor. And that's of course going to accept the pet, which is a pet instance. Now this function is actually going to be used anytime we are displaying the pet inside of a GUI, because we want to upgrade the background color that the pet is displayed upon based on if it's upgraded or not. So just to visualize the example, I'm going to enable my pet inventory, and then I'm going to go inside of the container, set this template to visible so that we can actually see it. And now what I'm actually referring to right here is the background color of this text bond. So for instance, if it's a shiny pet, then we want the background color to be this color. Otherwise, if it's a gold pet, then we would want the background color to be this color. And if it's not shiny or golden, then we just want the background color to be this blue color. So that's what this function is primarily going to be used for. Anyways, I'm going to undo everything that I did right there, and we'll go back to the script. So the first thing that we want to do in this function is get the pet's current upgrade. And we're going to use that function that we created in the pet's config. So get current upgrade, and we're going to pass through the pet. And then we can say return, and now we're going to use some if statements. So if current upgrade equals golden, then we're going to return a color3.fromRGB. And now for golden, I'm going to go with like a yellow, but we don't want to make it the brightest one because white does not look good on bright yellow. So we're going to go with that. Then we're going to say else if current upgrade equals shiny, Then once again, color3.fromRGB. This time we'll go with more of an orangish and still once again a little bit darker. So that looks great. And then we're going to finally say else, and then we're going to return color3.fromRGB once again. This time though, we actually want to get the background color of our templates button. So we're going to go ahead, copy and paste that into there. And now we have the nice blue color for right there. And now that we're in the same script where we have the generate pet function, we can actually update this function right now. So now after we set most of those text labels, what we're then going to do is set the background color. So we're going to say clone.backgroundcolor3 equals, and then we're going to use that new function that we just created. So pet utils.get upgrade color, and then we're going to pass through the pet. So now every time a pet is generated in either the bank or the pet inventory, the background color of the button that they're displayed on will be changed based on their upgrade. Cool. So now we are done with that. Next, what we're going to start to do is actually scripting the upgrade system on the client side. So we're going to go inside of the starter player, inside of the starter player scripts, expand the GUI folder, and then we want to open up the pet's inventory local script. Now, before we start scripting, we want to add one remote event to our game. So we're going to go inside of the replicated storage, inside of the remotes folder, inside of the pets folder, and then we're going to add a brand new remote event, which is going to be called upgrade pet. Cool. Now that we've added that remote event, we can go back to the pet inventory script. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is locate the update info function. And in this function, we're going to update how the pet is displayed in the info frame based on if they've been upgraded or not. Towards the bottom of this function, we can actually see I left a comment here that says add shiny. So towards the top of this function, what I'm going to do is after we set the selected pet, I'm then going to create a variable for its current upgrade. And of course, that's inside of the pet's config. So get current upgrade and pass through the pet. Then we're going to create a variable called prefix. Now, when clicking simulator, how the level text label is actually set up is if the pet is shiny or golden, this will be displayed next to their level. Now, I'm not sure why they did it, but that's how they did it. So I'm going to continue to do it in this series. So we're going to create a variable called prefix. And then we're going to say if current upgrade. So if the player has actually upgraded in some way, then we're going to create a string. And inside of the string, we're going to display its current upgrade. And then we're going to make all the letters inside of that string capitalized. And then after we display the current upgrade, we're going to put a space directly after that. Cool. So now that we've made our string, we're going to say else and then just a blank string. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come down to where we set the text of the level text label. We're going to copy this and then we're going to make a new string. This time, the first thing that we're going to say in the string is prefix. Then with no space, we're also going to display the level that was already there. So now if the pet is golden or shiny, that will display next to the level. And if it's not gold or shiny, then just the level will display like it normally would. We're then going to go down to the bottom of this function. And now we actually need to update the shiny button. So first of all, let's go ahead and get the pet's next upgrade. So we're going to say pets config.get next upgrade. We're going to pass through the pet. Then we want to check if the pet can upgrade. So we're going to say pets config.can upgrade. And we're also going to pass through the state manager.get data as well. Then we want to get all of the duplicate pets. So we're going to say pets config.get duplicate pets, pass through the pet, and pass through the state manager.get data. And then we want to get the upgrade cost. So pets config.get next upgrade cost and pass through the pet. Now that we've created all these variables, we can finally go ahead and actually update that button. So we're going to say info.buttons.shiny.backgroundcolor3 equals. Now, if the player is able to actually upgrade the pet, then we want to make the button a yellowish color. And if the player is not actually able to upgrade the pet, then we want to make that a grayish color. So we're going to say if can upgrade, then color3.fromRGB, and then we're going to do a yellowish color. And then otherwise, we're going to use another color3.fromRGB, and then we want the button to be gray. And then we can copy and paste this. And the only reason I'm doing that is because we want to update the text of this text button. Now, if the pet is fully upgraded, then we want this button to actually just display max upgraded. So if next upgrade equals max upgraded, then we're going to just pass through next upgrade. So we're going to set the text as max upgraded. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to display a string, which is prefixed with the next upgrade. And then inside of parentheses, we're going to display the amount of duplicate pets the player currently has, separated by a slash, and then the upgrade cost. So that's that string right there. So whenever we click a pet and it's displayed in the info frame, the shiny button's background color will now be updated, and so will the text. Now, if the pet's reached its maximum upgrade, that will be displayed. And if not, then the button will say the next upgrade level, and then display how many pets the player has out of their total amount of pets that they need. And now that we've updated the info function, we also have to update this for some other code. So we then want to find the update pet function that we have right here. And inside of this function, the only change that we need to make is actually updating its background color. So we're going to say button.backgroundcolor3 equals petutils.get upgrade color and pass through the pet. And now that we've updated that function, let's actually script when we click the shiny button. So going towards the bottom of our script, we're actually going to go to the line where we put this comment on, and then we're going to say info.buttons.shiny.mousebutton1click, connect that to an anonymous function. function. Now, the first thing that we want to check is if there is a selected pet, and if there is not, then we just want to stop the function right there and do nothing. Next, we're going to get the actual pet instance. So we're going to say local pet instance equals, and we're going to cast this as the pet instance type equals state manager.getData.pets, and then we want to index that with the selected pet, which is actually the UUID of the pet. Now that we've gotten that pet, we then want to see if it can be upgraded. So can upgrade, and then we're going to say petsconfig.canUpgradePet, and we'll pass through the pet instance as well as the state manager.getData. And now if we can upgrade that pet, then what we're going to do is use the remote event that we created earlier called upgradePet, and we're going to fire server, and we're going to tell the server the selected pet's UUID that we want to upgrade. Cool. So we've now scripted that button. Let's then go ahead and actually script this remote event that we created. So right down here, we're actually just going to go ahead, copy and paste this, and the remote that we're going to be, of course, using is upgradePet. Now for the arguments, the first argument is still going to be the UUID, but the second argument is actually going to be upgrade, and we can cast the type of this because it's in our pets config. So we're going to say pet upgrade, and we still actually want to do everything that we do already. But before we check if the selected pet equals the UUID, we want to call update pet and then pass through the UUID. Now this update info function is only called if the selected pet is the one displayed in the info, but when we call update pet, that actually updates the pet bun inside of the pet inventory, so that'll get its background updated. Cool. So now we're mostly done with scripting that on the client side. What we're then going to do is actually update our state manager. So inside of the replicated storage, inside of the client folder, we have the state module script right here. We're going to go all the way down to the very bottom, and I'm actually going to go right below our update pet level. I'm going to copy and paste that, and this time we're of course going to say upgrade pet. We're then going to say upgrade, and since I don't have the pets config module required through the state module, I'm just going to call this argument a string. Now when this remote event is fired back to the client, what we actually want to do here is update the pet instance inside the player's pet inventory, and we want to set either the golden or shiny property to true based on whatever upgrade we actually just did. So we're going to say player data.pets to get the pet inventory, then we're going to index that with the UUID to get the specific pet instance. Now that we have the specific pet instance, we then are going to index that with the specific upgrade. So now we have access to that upgrade property, which is either going to be golden or shiny, and then we're going to set the value of that specific property to true, just like that. Now that we've added that to our state manager, we can actually start scripting this on the server side. So we're going to go to our server script service, and we're going to open up the pets module script right here. Now inside of the script, we're going to go towards the very bottom, and we're going to add a brand new function to this. This function is going to be called upgrade pet, and that's going to accept a player, as well as a UUID, which is a string. Now inside of this function, we of course want to look for the player's profiles. So we're going to say profile equals player data.profiles, index that with the specific player. Now if we're not able to find the profile, then we just want to return n, stop the function right there. Then we want to find that actual pet. So we're going to say local pet equals profile.data.pets and index that with the specific UUID. And if we're not able to find the pet, then return n, stop the function right there. And we can also cast the type of this pet to be the petsconfig.pet instance. Then we want to check if the pet can actually be upgraded. So we're going to say local can upgrade equals petsconfig.canUpgradePet. Pass through the pet and pass through the profile.data. Now, if we're not able to upgrade the pet, then we want to stop the function right there. Then we're going to create a variable for the next upgrade, and that's of course equal to petsconfig.getNextUpgrade and pass through the pet. We'll also create a variable for the amount required to upgrade, and that's equal to petsconfig.getNextUpgradeCost, pass through the pet, and then we want to get all the duplicate pets inside of the player's inventory. So we're going to say petsconfig.getDuplicatePets, pass through the pet, and pass through the profile.data. Cool. So now that we've checked if the player is actually able to upgrade their pet, and we've gotten all the duplicate pets in their inventory, the next thing that we're going to do is actually go through deleting all the duplicate pets and then upgrading one of those pets to golden. So we're going to create a variable called amount deleted, and that's going to be equal to 0. Then we're going to loop through all the pet instances inside of the duplicate pets table. Now, as we're looping through this and starting to delete pets, the first thing we want to check is if the pet instance.UUID is the same one as the UUID passed to this function. Because if it is, then we want to continue over that because we don't want to delete the pet that we're upgrading. We just want to delete the other duplicates. Additionally, to make this for loop actually stop, we want to check if the amount deleted equals the amount to upgrade. And if it is, then we're going to break and stop the for loop right there. Now, after we do both of those basic checks, we're then going to actually delete the pet. So we're going to say pets.deletePet, and we're going to pass through the player as well as the pet instance.UUID. And now that we've deleted a pet, we're then going to add +1 to that variable. So we're going to say plus equals 1, just like that. So now that we've deleted all the duplicate pets, let's actually upgrade the pet. So we're going to say pet, and then we're going to actually index this pet with the next upgrade, which is going to bring us to either the golden or shiny property, and then we're going to set that property to true. And now that we've upgraded the pet and set it to either shiny or golden, we're then going to fire the upgrade pets remote event back to the client. And of course, we're going to pass through the player, pass through the UUID, and pass through the next upgrade. And there we go. This function is pretty simple. We're getting the pet, and then we're checking if the pet can actually be upgraded. If it can't, then we're going to stop the function right there. After that, we get the next upgrade. Now, we're really only using this for the end of the function, so we could even declare it down here if we wanted to. It doesn't really matter. But then we get the amount that it requires to upgrade, and then we get all the duplicate pets. Once we get all the duplicate pets pets, we loop through all the duplicate pets, only deleting the specific amount that we should be. And then once we delete all the other pets, we then set the pet to be upgraded, and then we let the client know about this. Cool. So now that we finished making that function, let's actually hook it up to the remote event. So we're just going to go ahead and duplicate that line of code. We're going to connect this to the upgrade pet function, and then we're of course going to use the upgrade pet remote event. And now that we've done that, we can actually go into our game and test this out. Open it on my pet inventory. Let's go ahead and click on the cat. And when we click on the cat, we can actually see the shiny button right here, and it says we have 40 out of 4 required pets. And then we see when we click on that, we actually got a golden pet in our inventory. We also see an error down here, but this is a pretty simple error. I actually should have used semicolon instead of a period, and that would have fixed it. But we can also see that a golden cat pet has appeared in our inventory right here. And let's actually fix that error real quick. So go into our pet's inventory script right here on line 68, where we create this prefix variable. When we try to set the current upgrade to all uppercase, we actually use a period upper when we should be using semicolon because we're calling a method on the string. If I wanted to use a period, I'd have to say string.upper and then pass through the actual string. So that's why we have to use the uppercase, because this is a method from the string. Cool. So now we can start our game up and test this out again. So once we hop into our game, open up our pet's inventory, we can click on our shiny cat, and now we can see it actually says golden, and it says that we have 1 out of the 3 required pets. If we click on another cat, we can see that we have 35 out of 4 shinies. Let's go ahead and make another one shiny. And now if I click on a dog, I can turn them shiny. And now we see that we actually have 3 shiny dogs, and we're able to make a golden one. So let's go ahead and make a golden one. And now we see we've made a golden one, and it's max upgraded. Cool. So that's all working perfectly. So now that we've tested that out, we can guarantee that we're pretty much done on the server side because that system is working perfectly. The next thing we're going to do is actually update the pet follow system a little bit. Whenever we make a shiny pet, we also want to display this in the follow system. Now, how do we want to do that? Well, we want to do this by updating the pet GUI Billboard GUI inside of a replicated storage. So let's go inside of replicated storage and open up the pet's GUI, open up the frame, and then inside of here, we have 2 text labels. Now, I know this seems a little bit weird making this blindly, but it's really simple and easy to do this. We're going to duplicate the pet name text label, and we're going to rename this to upgrade. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to set the text to something like either golden or shiny, and then we probably want to make the text color the same color as well. So we'll set that. And now that we've done that, the last thing that we want to do is modify the layout order because we want this to appear at the top, above the pet name and above the rarity. So we're going to set this to -1. And since we're using a UI list layout, we don't have to mess around with the positioning, and we also don't need to modify the size either. So that's why we're able to do this completely blindly, and we don't have to look at it at all. And now that we've added that text label, let's actually script this. So we're going to go inside of the start player, inside of the starter player scripts, and open up the pet follow local script. Now inside of here, we want to go to the pet follow function, and towards the bottom of this function is where we create the Billboard GUI right here. Right before we create the GUI, let's go ahead and actually create a variable called isUpgraded, and the pet is going to be upgraded if the golden or shiny property of the pet is set to true. After that, we're going to create another variable called current upgrade, and that's going to be equal, of course, to pet's config.get current upgrade, and we're going to pass through the pet. Cool. So now that we've gotten that, let's actually start modifying the upgrade text label. So we're going to say GUI.frame.upgrade.text equals, and if there is a current upgrade, then we're going to set the text to current upgrade, semicolon this time, upper, so make that in all uppercase, and then surround that in parentheses. Otherwise, it's just going to be set to a blank string. And then we want to set the visibility of this. So we're going to say GUI.frame.upgrade.visible equals is upgraded. And we only want to display this text label if the pet has actually been upgraded. So now that we've done that, we can go into our game and visualize this. So let's actually go ahead and equip one of our upgraded pets, and we can see that the shiny tag is above the rarity and the name. So that's looking pretty good. Now, another thing that some people might want to do is if the pet is shiny or if the pet is golden, you might want to make modifications to the actual appearance of the pet, so the pet model itself. Now, one idea I had was actually making the mesh parts a yellow color of the pet, and you can easily see what this would look like by modifying the pets inside of your workspace. So let's just select one of these pets, select all the mesh parts, and then we're going to modify the color, and let's just set the color to a bright yellow. So this is what the same pet will look like when it's all yellow. And then additionally, for the shiny pets, we can even change the material to a neon material, and then that'll kind of give a glow effect to the pet itself. Now, I know that some people might not want to do this the exact same way, but if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. I'm just going to show you a way that you can modify these 2 properties, and then you can expand on that yourself or do it a different way. So how we're actually going to do this is we want to add a function to the pet's config, which is going to be called getPetModel or just getModel, and that function is going to return the pet model. The reason that we're doing that is currently how we get the pet model everywhere is by just indexing the replicated storage with the pet's name, and then we get the pet model that way. The issue with getting it that way is then we want to be making the changes in the color or appearance. So going inside the replicated storage, storage, opening up the configs folder, and going back inside of the pets module script. Inside of here, right below the get config function, we're going to create a brand new one called get model. And we're going to pass through the pet, which is of course going to be a pet instance, and that's going to return a model. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get the actual pet model. So we're going to create a variable called model, and we're going to look inside of the replicated storage, inside of the pets folder, and we're going to call find first child with the specific model of the pet. And then we want to make sure that we clone that. Now that we've got that model, let's go ahead and create a variable for the current upgrade of the pet. And of course, we're going to say pets.get current upgrade and pass through the pet. Now, if there is no current upgrade, so if the pet is not golden or shiny, then we just want to return the model as is. Otherwise, what we're going to do now is change the colors of all the parts and make them shiny if they should be, and then we're going to return the model after we modify it. So let's go ahead and loop through all of the descendants inside of the model. So model get descendants, do, and then if the descendant is a base part, then we know that we could easily update the color or material property on the part. So now we want to check what upgrade it is. So if the current upgrade is golden, then we're going to update the color property of the part, and we're going to set that equal to color3 dot from RGB. And now I'm just going to go with a bright yellow, and then we're going to say else if current upgrade equals shiny, then we're going to go with a different color. So let's just copy and paste that line, and let's just go with kind of more orangish sort of color, so something like that. And in addition, because it's shiny, let's go ahead and change the material as well to enum.material.neon, so it gives that kind of glow effect. Cool, so now that we've updated all of those descendants, finally what we're going to do is we're going to return the brand new model that we kind of just created. Awesome, now that we've created that function, we then have to update this in all the places where we're just getting the model directly from the replicated storage. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Control, Shift, and F, which will open this tab up and allow us to search through our entire project. And what we're going to look for is replicated storage. So we're going to look for that line in every single one of our scripts. So right here inside of the pet inventory script is where we have the first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this line with petsconfig.getModel and pass through the pet. Then we're going to go to our next script. So inside of eggs. Now this script is actually one that we're not going to update because in our game, you're not able to get golden or shiny pets from any of the eggs. So we're going to leave this as is. And the same goes for the pet index. So next inside the pet follow script, we can replace this line right here. We're going to say petsconfig.getModel and pass through the specific pet. Then inside of our pet utils, we have this line right here. So let's go ahead and replace that. Petsconfig.getModel and pass through the pet. And then we're back in our pets config script where we actually made this function. So in about 4 total scripts, you should still have the replicated storage.pet line in your project. Otherwise, all the instances should be replaced with this get model function. And now that we've done that, let's actually start up our game and see how this looks. So hopping directly into our game, when our pets follow us, we can see that the shiny one is all yellow and it's glowing. And if we open up our pet inventory, we can actually see that the pet is yellow and displayed colored in here as well. Now the yellow on yellow is really hard. Like you can barely even see the amount of clicks that the pet currently has here. So you can make a decision yourself. Do you want to change the text color or do you want to change the actual pet color? You can of course do whatever you prefer, but this is working and it is looking good, so that's great to see. Next, what we're going to do is increase the amount of clicks a pet gives off when they become shiny or golden. To do this, we're going to go back inside of our pet's config, and we actually want to go to the get pet clicks function. Now inside of here, below where we actually create the clicks variable, we're going to create a brand new variable called current upgrade. That's of course equal to pets.get current upgrade, pass through the pet. Now, if the current upgrade is shiny, then we're going to increase the amount of clicks the pet gives off by 25%. Otherwise, if the pet is golden, then we're going to increase its clicks by 50%. So clicks plus equals clicks times 0.50. And then we're still going to return clicks at the end. So now how our clicks are calculated is once the clicks are calculated and taken into effect with the level and the clicks per level, then if the pet is shiny or golden, the amount of clicks that it gives off is also increased by an additional 25 or 50%. So now when the player has a shiny pet equipped, it's giving off 25% more clicks than a default pet. And we can actually go into our game, test this out, and visualize this. So hopping directly into our game, we can open up our pet inventory, and let's look at this cat, for example. So this shiny cat has 2.5 click power. Now it might be hard to see on that button right there, but you can look in the info panel right here. So 2.5, and a normal cat just gives off 2. And then we see we have the golden dog right here, and normal dogs only give 1, while the golden dog gives 1.5. So that's a 50% increase. Now there's one more thing that I actually really wanted to do, and this is a little bit separate from the shiny and upgrading system, but the pets in our inventory are not displayed in the correct order. How the pets should be displayed is the equipped pets should be the first displayed in the inventory, and all the pets should be sorted by their click stat. So whatever pet that I have equipped that has the most clicks should be displayed first, and then the pet with the second most power and second equipped should be displayed second, and so on. So let's make this happen. What we're going to do is we're going to go inside of the pet util script, and we're going to create a brand new function. Now this function is going to be called update layout, and it's going to accept the container, which is a scrolling frame. Another thing that we want to do is actually create a variable for the state managers. So we're going to say local state manager equals require replicate storage dot clients dot state. Now that we've got the state manager inside of here, we're going to create a table called pets. That's just going to be equal to a blank table. And then we want to loop through all the children inside of the container. So for underscore child in container, get children. Do. Now, this function is going to be used for both the bank and the pet inventory system, and we pretty much have our container set up the exact same way. All of the children inside of the container that are text buttons and visible should be named a specific UUID of a pet. So what we're going to do is we're going to check if the child is a text button and if the child is visible. Now, if both of these are true, then we pretty much know that we have a pet button. So we're going to say local UUID equals child.name. Then we're going to get the pet instance. So local pet instance, and we're going to cast that to the pets config.pet instance type equals state manager dot get data dot pets, and then we're going to index this table with the specific UUID. And if the pet doesn't exist in there, then we know that we actually want to go to the bank. So we're going to say .pet bank, and we're going to index that with the UUID as well. So right here to get the pet instance, we're first trying to get it from the pet inventory. And then if it's not in the pet inventory, we're going to get it from the pet bank. Now we're doing it this way because in our function, we don't actually have an argument for if this is from the pet bank or what source this is actually from. So this is a way that we can do it without having an argument that tells us that specifically. Now, if we're not able to find the pet instance, then we want to continue through the for loop. After we do that, we want to get the click stat. So we're going to say pets config.get pet clicks, and we're going to pass through the pet instance. And now that we've done that, what we want to do is we want to insert a brand new table inside of our pets table. Now we're going to create a custom table for this, and this table is going to have a UUID property, which is going to be equal to the UUID of the pet instance. This table is also going to have an equipped property, which is going to be equal to pet instance.equipped, and it'll also have a clicks property, which is going to be equal to the clicks variable. Oh, I guess I forgot a comma after pets. So yes, we're going to insert this brand new table inside of the pets table. The reason that we're doing this is because we need to be able to sort a table, and you're not able to sort a dictionary, so that's why we have to make this into an array. Cool, so now that we've created that table, like I said, we're going to sort that. So we're going to call the sort command, we're going to use the pets table, and we're going to create an anonymous function, which is going to have an A and B argument. Now basically what this function does is it loops through the entire array and compares each element to each other. So inside of this function, we can return either true or false, and that's how our list is going to be sorted. So first we want to check if A is equipped and B is not equipped, then we're going to return true, because that means that A is greater than B. After that, we then want to check if A is not equipped, but B is equipped, then we want to return false. Because if B is equipped, but A is not equipped, then B is greater than A. And if either of those are not true, then the final thing that we want to do is we want to compare A's clicks to B's clicks. So if A has more clicks than B, then this is going to return true, otherwise it'll return false. And after that, our entire table will be sorted with the most clicked pets at the top and the lowest clicked pets at the bottom. Then we're going to loop through them. So for I, pet data in pets do, and pet data refers to this table that we created right here. We're then going to find that button inside of the container. So button equals container, find first child, and then we're going to look for the pet data.uuid, and then we're going to set the layout order property of that to the index. And now when we call this function, every single pet's layout order inside of the container will be updated so that they're all displayed in the right order. Let's now actually use this function, and the first place that we can actually use it is inside of the generate pet function that we have right below it. Now when we're going to call this function is actually after we generate the viewport frame. So we're going to say pet utils dot update layout, and we're going to pass through the container. Cool, so every time we generate a pet, we're then going to update the layout so that they're all laid out correctly. And then we also want to call this inside of the pet inventory as well. So let's go inside of here, and we actually want to go to the update pet function. Now inside of here, after we set the background color, we're then going to also call the update layout function and pass through the container as well. And now that we've added that, we can delete this line right here where we modify the layout order, and then we can start our game up and test this out. So hopping directly into our game, when we open up our pet inventory, we can see that our inventory is now displaying correctly. So the most powerful pet that we have right here that is equipped as well is displayed, and all the equipped pets are displayed at first. Then we have the strongest pet right here, which is unequipped. Then we have all the cats, and they're all sorted correctly. We can also check out the bank. Let's click on deposit, and we can see all the pets are sorted in here correctly. Let's just go ahead and select a bunch of these, and then we will deposit them. Now let's go ahead and check withdrawal pets, and we can see that they're still sorted correctly as well. So this is looking perfect. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, that's going to be it for this episode. As always, if you guys did enjoy or the video did help you out, make sure you smash the like button, also to subscribe button, and turn post notifications on so you get notified every time I upload a brand new episode. I also have a Patreon if you guys like to support me and gain access to all the scripts and the game file that I made during this episode. There's a link down below in the description, and you guys go and check that out. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next episode.